Jai Hind everyone. Welcome to my YouTube channel which is Explore Yourselves, Banking and General Knowledge, etc. Memoir of my banking journey by Mr. V.H. Ramakrishnan, retired General Manager of Bank of India. Episode 40. The chapter A Banking Journey Begins is continuing. The link of earlier episodes is available in description. The banking journey begins. As a branch manager, one may be dealing with different types of customers. As head of the department at zonal office, I had to deal with different types of branch managers. Some of them were even my seniors. I was clear about one thing. If any branch manager had phoned me about any problem, I felt it was my duty to get the solution. In my entire span at CBD, I had never told any manager to speak to the regional manager. Even for sanction of proposals, no manager would have spoken to the RM directly unless the latter was on a visit to the branch. So also was the case with Mr. M.S. Raman. Both of us felt that it was our responsibility to get the decision. It is difficult at this point of time to remember all the managers and write about them. If I do that, I would become a biographer rather than a chronicler. So I will restrict myself to a few interesting personalities. Sweet KV. Mr. KV Thiagarajan was fondly known as KV. He was a manager of Madurai branch, a very sweet person. He would never get angry. Whenever he sent a proposal, he would call me and inform me to take care of the same. When the proposal was sanctioned, he would phone and always thank me and would add, God bless you, with all sincerity and affection. It was always a pleasure listening to him. Even if we had to decline, I would call him and tell him the reasons, and he would never get annoyed. He headed the vigilance cell at HO before retirement. I think he was the only friendly vigilance chief. Never say no to SV. Mr. S. Venkatraghavan, popularly known as SV, was a person who could never say no to a proposal. He was the manager of Visakhapatnam branch, an officer well known for his integrity and honesty. He was very good in building business, both deposits and advances. When priority sector advances were introduced, operational area was not prescribed. When we got copies of proposals sanctioned by him, we found that he had sanctioned loans for purchase of pump sets to farmers living 250 kilometers away. Naturally, monitoring was difficult. There were two good stories about him. First, he was credited with the practice of asking for deposits as margin for issuing guarantees in our bank. Second, once head office asked him for an explanation for the increasing number of sticky advances, he replied as under, Dear sir, if you trust the undersigned, please signed SB. Since his honesty was well known, no one could have questioned him. Ultimately, he was transferred. No harm was done to him. Those were the days when honesty of a person could save him from difficult situations. Past performance and the innovative things done by a manager was always taken into account. However, today the norm is past performance is no guarantee to save you if you commit a mistake. SD was succeeded by Mr. N.L. Vijayaraghavan, who literally put a total stop on lending. Ultimately, it was Mr. M.K. Shroff who took over from NRV, who brought the branch into a good shape. Thandu Mama. C.R. Thanada Veshwaran was fondly called Thandu Mama. He was the manager of Mysore branch. A Palghat Brahmin, he had settled down in Bangalore and was well respected by all. Initially, I found a hesitation on his part to lend money. Mysore had good scope. Once I visited Mysore and had a talk with him. He told me frankly that he could send many good proposals, but he was worried about the people that might misunderstand him. He thought the zonal office may doubt his integrity. I assured him that we would deal with him professionally. Then the flow of proposals, first class industries proposals, started. I took personal care to ensure that his proposals were processed quickly. Like KV, we would also phone each and every time a proposal was sanctioned. He became one of the most successful managers. M.R. Chandrasekharan. MRC was the manager of Cantonment branch, very dynamic personality. His proposals were professionally prepared. He was excellent in PR. One of the leading politicians with modern outlook was his customer. This politician later became a union minister. MRC was also a member of Century Club, and whenever I visited Bangalore, we would go there for high tea. He was also a mentor for many young officers at Bangalore. However, he had to face a robbery attempt at the branch. Later, he quit the bank. He started a small scale industry and continues to be a successful entrepreneur. I met him after my retirement. He took me to his factory and showed me around. Rajan, when we decided to open a branch at Kurichi Industrial Estate, we were looking for a dynamic officer. Rajan, if my memory is right, was working on in Mount Road branch. His proposals were quite sound. He had a knack of understanding the intricacies of running an industry. The success of a new branch always depends upon the first manager. In South, Mylapore branch always Nangavaram, Velayuthampalayam, Vadipatti, Guntur were a few branches who had good first managers. There might be many more. Rajan was an automatic choice for Kochi Industrial Estate branch and did a very good job. Sound proposals were started flowing in. Incidentally, MTT Thanikachalam, who was my cashier at Vellore, later on became manager of Kurichi and did a very commendable job. I think Rajan had some family business. He resigned and focused on running an industry and was quite successful. In Ramamurthy, a real go-getter. His real talents came out when he became manager of Suryabag branch in Vishakhapatnam. He used to submit good new industrial proposals. Sometimes he would travel all the way to Chennai along with the proponent. I'm mentioning this to show how certain managers were proactive. In 70s there was no fear of vigilance commission. As long as you did your job with honesty and integrity, there was no need to fear of any punishment. K. Meenakshi Sundaram, KMS. I have mentioned about KMS on a couple of occasions earlier, but my narration with managers would be incomplete. If I do not mention about KMS, who was my senior in college, I knew him because of my Tamil debate activities. He was also the Students' Union president. Now I am mentioning his name for two reasons. First, in the 70s, banking hours were normally between 10 and 2. During this time, KMS would be standing at the banking hall to ensure that good customer service was given. He would talk to the customers, their representatives, and other visitors. He would attend to the paperwork only after 3 p.m. He felt strongly that business would only grow with good counter service. Second, when he was the manager of Tiruchirappalli branch, there were 7 or 8 rural branches around Trichy. If any branch had any acute staff shortage on a day, he would not hesitate to send relief from his branch. Sometimes he himself would be facing severe shortage, still he would go to the rescue of small branches. Managers whose names I cannot mention. There was a branch manager in a residential area in Hyderabad. He lent to small borrowers all over Hyderabad except in his area. Naturally, many accounts became very bad. There was no monitoring at all. Despite our advice, he did not stop the practice. He only strong his only strong point was that his father was holding a very high position in government of India. Ultimately, I think he was given some punishment, not dismissal. Second, there was another branch manager in a suburb of a metro whose integrity was never in doubt. He had a cashier in whom he had tremendous trust. Every evening while checking the cash in the safe, the cashier would count the bundles in the safe and the manager would take the cash register. Now the cashier started removing the bundles but would call the numbers including the bundles removed by him so that it would tally with the register. As it normally happens, the cashier fell sick out all of a sudden. A relief cashier came from the main branch. The shortage was detected. Now, since the safe was under dual control, the police wanted the bank to include the name of the manager also in the complaint. Mr. Vaidya was the regional manager and said, "No way, we have 100% faith on our manager and we will not include his name." The police tried their best and said, "We may lose the case if we complain only against the cashier." Vaidya did not yield. Ultimately, we lost the case. The cashier had to be reinstated. But God has his own way. The cashier was caught in doing some fraud with his leave travel concession and was dismissed from service. A footnote: there is a reason behind mentioning the above selected names. It is mainly for the readers who are still in service. KVT for PR with regional office. SV for innovative way of doing business and for the weightage given to honesty and integrity. Hanumama to show how with some support one can do wonders. MR Chandrasekharan for PR with public and also with regional office. Rajan for the business instinct and Ramamurthy for going all out for business. KMS for counter service and helping small branches, Nameless 1 for reckless lending, Nameless 2 for the quality of the boss who was firm in protecting and supporting an honest officer knowing very well the cashier may escape. Tailpiece. First, recently the government has banned red beacon on the cars of VIPs. That reminds me of an incident when Mr. T. Tiwari was our CMD. He told me during his visit to Lagos that he was trying to get a red beacon for his car. But I came to know later that his request was turned down by the government. Second, we had one Mr. Patiwala, a nice Parsi gentleman, as our area manager in Bangalore. He had returned from Japan. He used to recommend SSI proposals with the stipulation subject to the project being technically feasible and economically viable. We had to request RPV to explain to him that his recommendation should come only after satisfying those two conditions. Time to say goodbye to Mr. Vaidya. All good things have come to an end, so also Mr. Vaidya's term in Madras. I think I will now onwards refer to Madras as Chennai. Similarly, I will refer the regional manager as zonal manager so that readers can easily visualize their power and status. Before I conclude temporarily about RPV, I must mention the interest he used to take even in the personal affairs of the officers with more and more direct recruits reporting in 1973 and 1974, more and more ladies joining in both clerical and officer cadre, love marriages became the order of the day. Male officers marrying lady clerks, lady officers marrying male clerks, male officers marrying lady officers, ladies marrying gents younger to them in age became more common. When one direct recruit officer got married to a clerk, Mr. Vaidya got quite upset. He told me, VHR, how can A, who is a highly intelligent person, marry B? Can marry B, who is of average intelligence? I told him, sir, that is why they say love is blind. He shook his head with dissatisfaction. For a major part of RPV's tenure, Kandamal, a very quiet and efficient lady, was his stenographer. We were surprised at this selection since there were more dashing steners available, but we realized that the reason for the choice. Kandamal would never gossip, even with other ladies. When Sundaragopal was the steno of the earlier Zedans, he would always come out with some interesting stories, but nothing would come out of Kandamal's mouth. We realized that it was the essential quality of a personal secretary or steno. An executive made it dictate personal letters, so the steno was likely to know even family matters. She or he had to be tight-lipped. I think sometime during 1974, Mr. Vaidya got his transfer orders to either Calcutta or Gujarat. He served as zonal manager in both these places before moving to head office as general manager. People used to say in a lighter vein that RPV favored South Indians, Bengalis, and Gujaratis but never favored a Maharashtrian. But the real fact was that he favored persons with merit irrespective of where they were from, north or south or east or the west. I remember the farewell hosted by the zonal office staff in a four-star hotel. It was a high tea. They served ice cream and then coffee. RPV told us that in dinner should be served after ice cream and in high tea ice cream should be served after coffee. Kopigar takes charge as zonal manager. When I joined the bank in 1966, Mr. Kopigar was a sub-manager. Later, he had another term as area manager. Now he became the zonal manager. We were happy but a little worried. We carried an impression that while he was an excellent person, he did not have depth in Indian banking which his predecessors possessed. We felt he was a happy-go-lucky person, but he proved us all wrong. On the day he took charge, he called all the departmental heads to his room. It was a very brief meeting. I still remember his words. Quote, Gentlemen, I am responsible only for the English portion of the letters or proposals. You are responsible for the subject matter. Unquote. That was all. We had coffee and came out with serious faces. We felt our responsibility had doubled. Earlier, we were sure that any lapse on our part would be noticed and corrected by the zonal manager. Now we felt we just could not afford any lapse. These are a few of his favorite things. Mr. Kopigo was fond of cricket and playing cards. When he was in Mumbai, 70 to 80 Mahatma Gandhi Road, whenever a test match was on, half the time only his jacket would be on his chair. He would be at the stadium nearby. He would be playing cards during the weekends with selected staff members. The team would include some junior officers and some clerks, but in the office nobody could guess that he was playing with them. He would not show any familiarity to them in the office. For a long time I never knew that my own clerk jackpot, Miss Krishnamurthy, was also a member of the Kopikat team, along with an officer called Murugan. Another favorite thing was his love for English language. He could not tolerate bad English. I once saw a staff member replying in English with full Tamil accent and saw Mr. Kupika's face becoming red. I intervened and changed the subject to save that staff member. He once called a few of us one by one to his cabin and asked us to pronounce facade. We all pronounced it as facade. Then he corrected us, saying it should be pronounced as facade. It was a revelation to us. Who is afraid of Mr. Vesuwala? Mr. Vesuwala was heading the legal department at head office. Nobody would dare to cross his legal knowledge was superb. Bank of India's documents drafted by Mr. Vesuwala was a model for many banks, but he was short-tempered. Once I was sitting with Mr. Kopikar and a call came from Vesuwala. He told Mr. Kopikar something on these lines. I called you at 7 p.m. last evening. You were neither at the office nor at home. Where were you? Perhaps the tone of the speaker annoyed Mr. Kopikar. He replied, Mr. Vesuwala, I'm the zonal manager. I have social and official appointments and commitments. There is no rule that I should be either at office or at home. This brought down Mr. Vesuwala down to earth. I never knew that till then one could speak like that to Mr. Vesuwala. A sound advice. Mr. Kopikar told me there is no need to shout at a person to show your anger or displeasure. Look at his eyes, talk slowly and firmly without raising your voice. It will have more effect than shouting. Of all the executors, I feel this is practiced by one of our former CMDs. He would never raise his voice. He would express his feelings in crisp, short, and sharp sentences without using any abusive language that would make you run for cover. The real Mr. Kopikar. Soon after Mr. Kopikar took charge, I had to accompany him for a meeting convened by one secretary in the government. On the way, I briefed him about the meeting. The meeting began with a talk by the secretary on the purpose of the meeting. When the secretary finished and invited, I suddenly heard Mr. Kopikal's voice. He started in his own style. Gentlemen, my heart sank. I thought he might say something not so relevant because I was not sure whether he had understood the intricacies of the issue. How wrong I was. He made a good couple of observations. The secretary totally agreed with him and told his assistant to note down the points raised. That day I learned a lesson. Never underestimate your boss. AKR leaves and registrar arrives. Sometime during 1973 to 74, there was also a major change in Chennai branch. Mr. AKR got elevated and moved to Patna as area manager. After a long stint in Chennai, in his place, Mr. KR registrar arrived. The handing over and taking over process took more than 90 days. Mr. Registrar went through the documents in all advance accounts. Mr. Registrar had also a foreign stint. I could never get close to him. Unfortunately, when he arrived, some of the SSI advances were showing signs of stress. Since we at CBD were originating the proposals for Chennai branch and the monitoring and follow up was done by them, he got a feeling that we were simply generating bad accounts. I came to know from reliable sources that because of this, he did not carry any good impression about me. In our career, it is impossible to get a good opinion from every boss, but this was the first time I found a boss who did not like me. Of course, he never showed this openly. Luckily, by this time, a separate SSI cell was opened at Chennai and Mr. R. Benigal was put in charge. He was a very nice person and we had excellent coordination. Blind entrepreneur. You might have heard of different types of entrepreneurs, but have you heard of a blind one? Money, name change, was a qualified engineer working with Lucas TVS Limited. Unfortunately, he lost his vision. Still, he was able to carry on. The company encouraged him to start his own industry to manufacture a part required by the company. Mr. P.S. Man- Narayanan, manager of Mylapore branch, brought this proposal. Mani's father was a good depositor of the branch. We processed the proposal, and sanctioned the limit. He was able to run the unit successfully. TLPs I had mentioned in the second paragraph that love is blind. I would like to add that people in love also think others are deaf. A in second floor would talk to his sweetheart B in first floor with a stupid expression in his face. Immediately, one of the staff members would rush down to the first floor to confirm whether the sweetheart was also holding the phone. He would come back and confirm to all by sign language. Sometimes the conversation would take place between another pair in the same floor. On the intercom, both parties blissfully ignorant of the entire hall watching them. A story was going around at that one of the lady clerks received a dozen love letters. She ultimately went for an arranged marriage. Zonal manager's residence. The bungalow of the zonal manager, now the of the general manager, was situated in Kilpo, a posh residential locality in Chennai. It was designed by the famous architect Chital and Co. And built by Tarpur and Co. well-known builders, the same pair who built the present Chennai branch and Arabella Chetty Street. It was a beautiful bungalow with a nice lawn. Having visited that place quite a few times, I loved that bungalow. As a junior officer, I used to dream of the day I would get an opportunity to occupy that house. It had remained as unfulfilled dream. It had some hope when I was transferred back to India from Nigeria. The then CMD, Dr. R. Srinivasan, asked me whether I would like to be posted. At that time, I had the seniority to go as ZM. So I promptly told him that I would prefer to go to Chennai since I had my contacts there and I could do good business. He advised me to send him a note about what I could do in Chennai. I sent him a note listing my connections, but my orders came posting me as Joint Chief Executive of Bank of India Finance Limited, Mumbai. There is a background to this. A few months before returning to India, I was in Chennai on leave. As usual, I called on the zonal manager, Mr. L.M. Dever, a very good friend of mine, was the ZM. We were both of the same seniority. I had written earlier about him, how we fought together to get justice for our case of seniority being ignored when committee recommendations were implemented. They would ask me casually as to where I would like to be posted. I told him, if you want a frank answer, I would like to occupy the chair which you are occupying. He laughed and said he would be happy to vacate the seat as he would like to go to Mumbai. On returning to India and before joining BOIFIN, I was in Chennai for a few days. I again called on Mr. Dever. He told me that the CMD had asked him to suggest a good officer for BOIFIN, and he had told him that Ramakrishnan would be the best person. I was a little surprised. It meant one of the following things. First, Mr. Dever was not keen to leave Chennai, since I had expressed a desire to come to Chennai and he had made the suggestion that I should be posted to BOIFIN. Second, Mr. Dever would have sincerely felt that in the interest of the bank I should be posted to the merchant banking company. Being a good friend, I thought the second reason was the correct one. Neither he nor I knew what a tough time I was going to have at BOIFIN. Back to the bungalow, I was surprised to know that Dev was staying at a flat and postponed the decision to move to the bungalow. Perhaps he was staying alone and felt the flat was more suitable. Later on, a general manager was posted at Chennai. The bank's bungalow was occupied by the zonal manager. I had retired by that time. When I spoke to the GM to congratulate him, I asked him when he would be moving into the bank's bungalow. He said since the GM, ZM, who was a very nice person and friend, was occupying the house, he did not want to disturb him. He had taken a flat. I told him that it was not correct. As a GM uh, should also as a GM he should have a good address and it was right to occupy the house. Only he need not hurry the ZM. Should be given sufficient time to move out. I told him that our personal relationships should not play such a role in these matters. SB Kaji. Mr. Kaji was a DY general manager in the 70s. In those days, we had only one DGM. I had attended a conference in Hyderabad of small scale industries. Mr. Kaji was listed as one of the speakers in a technical session. Speaker after speaker, all small scale industries spoke about the bad service given by the bankers. Then Mr. Kaji rose to reply. He said, I agree with you all, but that the services rendered by the banks have deteriorated. But can you name one service organization where the services have improved? There was dead silence. He continued, that is because there is a general deterioration all around, and banks are no exception. I admired his bold reply instead of being defensive. Mr. Kaji's son, Gautam Kaji, held a very senior position in the World Bank. Turning back to the clock. Turning back the clock. When a person like me, who did not maintain any diary, writes his memoirs, sometimes he has to go back in time to record some events which he had forgotten. I would like to mention here three such events. First, board meeting in Chennai. When Mr. Karnik was heading the operations in South, a board meeting was held at Chennai. Connemara Hotel, a colonial style building, was the venue. The local committee members from South were also invited for the meeting. I was given the job of being an escort officer for Mr. Vittal Malia, father of Vijay Malia, who was local committee member of our Bangalore branch. I picked him up from his hotel and brought him to Connemara, a very simple and unassuming person. I also recollect Mr. T.D. Kansara addressing the staff members at a function organized in a hotel. Second, Federation of Officers Association Annual Conference. The annual conference was held in Chennai in 1972 or so when Mr. M. S. Ranganathan was the president of Southern Unit. Because he was a person liked by one and all, there was full cooperation from everyone. I was given two assignments, one to arrange for a cultural program lasting 2 hours, two to print the invitations. The second job was easy. We had one young and dynamic printer helped whom we had helped to set up his unit. He worked day and night and brought out a beautiful design and did an excellent job. We had another small scale industrialist called Nachiappan, who was very close to Kalakshetra, a well known cultural organization known around all over the world. He was also one of the best photographers whose photos used to appear in photographic journals. He introduced me to the famous teacher of Kalakshetra, Sarada Hoffman. She was kind enough to select the numbers to be performed by a group of dancers. The cost was very nominal just to cover their expenses. The program was simply superb. I still remember the Pinnal Collatum. I cannot translate and select and explain in English. Those interested may Google for Collatum in YouTube. All the delegates enjoyed the program. Not a single soul left the seat. I also remember the famous Tamil cinema comedian Nagesh entering the auditorium when the dance performance was about to end. He came to pick up a delegate from Delhi for dinner. I came to know later that they had a common friend who had requested Nagesh to enter in the delegate from Delhi. Another interesting thing was the election of General Secretary Mr. A.N. Butch. Mr. A.N. Butch had already been elected unopposed as president. He was a professional trade unionist and was not a bank employee. Mr. A.R. Sule was seeking re-election. Y. Chaturvedi from Agra opposed him and gave a powerful speech. The contest was on. Mr. Butch suddenly asked me to be the election officer. I had to count the votes and give the result to Mr. Butch. Sule got elected with a comfortable margin. Matchmaking made an attempt. K. Gopal, about whom I had already written, was working with me in SSID. One day I got a call from one of my distant relatives inquiring about Gopal. He was looking for a bridegroom. I told him that even if he searches all over India, he would not get a very good boy like Gopal. Gopal was sitting opposite to me. Gopal, who had always had a serious look, broke into a smile. Things moved fast. I also attended the wedding, which if I remember correct, took place in Tirupati. I felt happy that I played a small role in getting the alliance clicked. People you cannot forget, Mr. N.G.K. Prasad. A few days after I joined the bank, a handsome figure walked into the bank. It was a familiar face. He was my senior in Loyola College. He was such a personality that you cannot miss him. When I made inquiries, I was told that he was the manager of Thayagaraya Nagar branch. He was tall and always looked fresh. I am sure if he had entered the film industry, he would have become a leading hero. In due course, we became good friends. He told me that he would wanted to join Indian Police Service, but could not get selected. But he would not have been a success there because he was a very soft person. He headed the foreign exchange department for some time. One day, a stenographer insulted him by using unparliamentary language. Anyone else would have reacted strongly or would have taken it up for a disciplinary action. When I came to know about the incident, I went to Prasad to urge him to take action, but NJK, with a magnanimous heart, brushed it off. A few years back, I saw that Steno, though he was 50, he looked 70. NGK remained a bachelor. When I got my posting orders for Nairobi, he invited me to his house in Chennai to meet his brother, who had just returned from Zambia. That was the last time I saw him. While I was abroad, I got a letter from Mrs. Balu informing me about the sudden demise of NGK. I can never forget him. Lessons I did not learn. Not open your heart to everyone. Hail piece I got this from T.R. Madhavan, one of the Bank of India executives who wrote on the APR of an officer working under him. His intellect is unable to keep pace with his enthusiasm. Second, a young Punjabi joined Chennai branch as a direct recruit officer. After about a week, he went to Mr. K.S. Swaminathan, who was sitting in the first floor, and asked him, "Sir, what is the fastest way of going up in this bank?" KS, without even smiling, showed him the lift opposite to him and told him, "Take the lift, this is the fastest way of going up." The chapter A Banking Journey Begins is continuing. Thank you very much for your patience. Please like and share this video and subscribe to my YouTube channel.